What's up, everyone? Welcome to Power Play with CJ. In keeping with the how I'd rebuild, insert struggling team here. We did the Panthers, Edmonton, Buffalo Sabres, and yeah, those three so far. But now we're going to focus in on what I do in Nashville. One of my teams, quote unquote, and obviously one of their Achilles heels as a franchise, in addition to having a shoestring budget, has been the inability to develop a number one center. I mean, David Legwand, who they just traded away, was the closest they've come, and David Legwand really ain't, he's not really number one center. I mean, he's not a bad player, but then again, I'm not knocking him, but that's the reality situation. He's done a great job developing defensemen, namely Ryan Suter, Shea Weber. Obviously, Suter's gone on to greener pastures, and the franchise forward has never really come around. I think Philip Forsberg will be the real deal. Too much pressure to put on a 19-year-old kid saying he's going to be a franchise player. He's 19. Let's keep that in mind. I think Seth Jones, obviously on the defenseman, will be amazing, but he's having his growing pains. He's having the peaks and valleys of a rookie season in the NHL. He's got 24 points. I believe he's the only player in Nashville to play all 71 games. He is. Well, and he's a minus 23. And it's not. It is what it is. And Colin Wilson is someone I don't want to say disappointed in, 'cause I like the way he plays, but they drafted him thinking he was going to be a top six forward, and he's been ineffective. And he was getting 27 points in 70 games on the season. I thought he was having a good year last year before he got hurt, but it's never really come easy for him offensively. And there was no bigger Colin Wilson fan who's at Boston University than me, and I think he's got like 6 or 7 games in a row without a point. You don't want to see that. And hopefully he can get it going down the line, because he's an amazingly talented kid. But he's almost 25. It's time to stand and deliver. He was a first round pick 6 years ago, and it's just the progress hasn't been as steady. Or he plays a pro game, but at the same time there really isn't a ton of offensive pop there. You hate to see that. Now, speaking of pop, you got Shea Weber, you got a franchise defenseman. Is it worth moving him to Edmonton? I've talked about that a few times. I wouldn't say do it unless Edmonton really knocks your socks off, but that's a possibility. And Craig Smith, after having a kind of subpar year last year, it was his third year professional hockey. He's got 20 goals in the season. He's leading Nashville in scoring among forwards. He's Nashville's, I believe, only 20 goal scorer. Yep, Shea Weber's 2 off the pace with 18. So he's trying to do something, but that's not a guy you build a franchise around. You built your franchise when Suter walked and you locked up Weber and Pekka Rinne long term. Those are going to be your cornerstones. Granted, Rinne's been hurt this year, and hasn't been that hasn't made the goaltending situation desirable for the Preds. But even when he's been healthy, he's 275 goals against, really. So you really got to look at what you're going to do going forward in terms of your drafting, your developing forwards. They'll probably get Dal Cole, Bennett, or Draisaitl, one of those guys in the draft this year. That's a cornerstone to build around. You got Forsberg, you got you got Smith, who I think will be more of a second line scorer than anything else, and you got Seth Jones, and Ryan Ellis. You got Yossi. You went out. You got Del Zotto. I think they misusing Del Zotto. He played 3 minutes last night, and I think he had an assist in those 3 minutes. So that's something to keep an eye on. But they need forwards, and not only need forwards, they need effective forwards, guys that can score consistently and be top 6 forwards on other teams. Because a lot of times, Nashville's guys that are playing on the first line, that would be good third liners on legitimate cup contenders. And that's just the way they do it, because Nashville's defensemen that are better than most teams in most cases. So this is a situation to keep an eye on. I think Trotz is done at the end of the season, and hopefully they can kind of get Trotzy to leave, walk away as opposed to firing him, because you wouldn't want to see that, because Barry Trotz has been the personification of the Nashville Predators franchise, and I think Poyle's on kind of a short leash himself, but we'll see what happens with that. They'll have a high pick this year. They'll make some moves and look here. I think they mismanaged spending money last year. Cullen, Nystrom, and who was it? Hendricks. Hendricks is gone. That's who you spend your money on. Think about that for a second. Anyway, that's on this episode of The Power. And I didn't even mention Patrick Hornquist, whose development has been inconsistent at best. He scored 30 a couple years ago, but he's hasn't come near that since. Anyway, that's on episode of the Power Play with CJ on Nashville State of Affairs right now. Stay tuned for more episodes for the season and beyond. Later, guys.